Ken Whiting with Paddle TV, and in this video I am doing a full overview of the gear that I used for a 5-day sea kayaking trip in one of my favorite places in the world, Georgian Bay. Now, I was filming a full adventure video about that trip, and so I'll leave a link down below in the description box to the full adventure, but in this video I'm talking about the gear that I used and why. And so let me start with one piece of gear that I don't have right here, the biggest piece of gear, the kayak. Now, I was using the Boreal Design Storm 17, and there's a few reasons that I was using that. First and foremost, I was testing it, like I often do on these types of trips. I use these trips as an opportunity to test new gear, but I wouldn't have tested it if I didn't think it was the right boat, and so this is why it was the right type of boat for a 5-day kayak touring trip on one of the Great Lakes. It's 17 feet long, which means it's going to have speed, and I was covering some real distance. Now, on top of that, one of the great things about the Storm 17 is that it has a ton of storage space. It is not a low profile, low volume clay sea kayak. It is designed to be an all-round, do anything with it sea kayak. And it has a lot of storage space. So it was very easy to bring all my gear, which included almost 50 pounds of camera gear, which changes. You need to find space or cut back on things in order to bring an extra 50 pounds of camera gear. It's an ultralight boat. Now, it's not like crazy ultralight, but it's thermoformed. Which means it's under 60 pounds. It's around 59 pounds instead of, a typically built rotomolded plastic kayak would be closer to 70 pounds or potentially even more. So it was nice to be able to move around. Now, of course, you do give up some durability with a thermoformed kayak. It's lighter, but not as durable as a rotomolded boat. I was okay with that on Georgian Bay because I wasn't going to be dealing with any big surf. I knew that. I might be dealing with big waves offshore, but I wasn't worried about hammering into rocks. I could be relatively careful with that boat. Now, the boat also had a rudder. I was covering a long distance, and I knew I was going to be dealing with wind, and I knew I was going to be dealing with a lot of rocks and islands, classic Georgian Bay, and so I was going to have to just weave my way through the rocks. So both the skeg or a rudder would work fine. It was nice to I usually use skeg, so it was really nice to use a boat with a rudder to wind my way through the whole bay. Like I mentioned before, I was testing that boat, and so I am doing a full review of the Storm 17. I'll leave a link down below if you want more information on that kayak. Basically, figure out, is it the right boat for you? Now, moving right along, let's talk paddles. These are the two paddles that I took on the trip. This was my primary paddle. This here is Aquabound's Tetra Ultralight carbon paddle. This is my favorite touring paddle. It came out, well, it really came out this year. I got to test it for the first time last summer on a substantial trip on Lake Superior and fell in love with it. For one thing, I mean, I wish you could feel it. It is so light, but it doesn't feel flimsy. It feels like I can handle any type of water that the Great Lakes throws at me. For one thing, it's got their new lam lock around the edges of the blade, and the lam lock is basically what they've done is they've sewn together the edges of the blade so that it's not going to delaminate. And that's one of the biggest problems with composite paddles is, over time they can delaminate. You just wear out at the end. Water gets in, and it's a downward spiral from there. But aside from the build of this thing, the reason I love this paddle for a long touring trip is they're not big blades. These are they're touring blades. They're smaller blades. So you're not grabbing a ton of water. You can paddle all day long very comfortably with these things. But at the same time, it's carbon, so it's a very stiff paddle, not a lot of flex at all, so you get a lot of power for a small blade. It also has a really a sticky-ish coating on the shaft, which provides great grip even when it's wet. but not too much grip, because if you get too much grip, then you end up getting blisters, calluses, and even tearing those. So it's a great, I love this paddle. You pay a pretty penny for it, straight up. So, unless you're willing to invest in a beautiful, lifelong paddle, then don't even bother looking at it. Now this is Aquabound's Tango. This is a fiberglass paddle with a carbon shaft. This was my backup paddle, and this is another beautiful paddle. I've used the Tango, the Whiskey. I've used their other composite paddles. I've used all their paddles for over 20 years, and I'm a big fan. These two types of paddles, composite paddles, made sense for me on this type of trip because I wasn't expecting to be banging on rocks. It wasn't like a river trip where I wanted a more durable blade. So let's move right along. Let's start on the outside. Life jacket. I was using NRS's Odyssey life jacket. This is my go-to life jacket for touring, and the biggest reason is really the pocket system. I love the fact that it has 4 pockets really in total. It's got 2, 1 on each side, big ones inside, and then these bigger outside clamshell pockets. You can fit tons of gear. Not just gear. I've put things like sunscreen, snacks, my phone, my mic, things I want access to throughout the day. Now, the fit, they have a new fit system with these life jackets. So they are different sizes. They're not just, it used to be when PFDs were different sizes, they'd just be different strap sizes. The rest would be the same. But now the actual amount of flotation, the fit of the life jacket is different for each person. The other thing that's different is it's not just a single block of foam in here. It's pieces of foam, so that you don't have to over time wear this, mold this thing to your body. Right out of the gate, it molds really well to your body. Now on the back, I have the Swig hydration system. I used this for the first time last year on my Lake Superior trip and fell in love with it. Having easy access to water throughout the day. It's amazing. You can be surrounded by water, but it's so easy to forget to drink or choose not to drink because accessing your water bottle, especially in rough conditions, means popping your skirt or letting go of your paddle with one hand, things you don't want to do. So I love having, it's a 2-liter hydration bladder in here. I love having easy access to water throughout the day. This is NRS's Element Gore-Tex. They call it a semi-dry paddling top. Other people call it an anorak. What makes it semi-dry and not dry is the fact that it has a neoprene neck, not a latex neck. It has latex gaskets in the wrists so that you're not getting any water in the wrists. Now the neoprene gasket here, it's not 100% dry, but it's pretty darn close. I mean, even if you're swimming, you might get a trickle, a very small trickle in here, but it's still very dry and much more comfortable, which is why this is my go-to paddling top. It has also a double tunnel for your skirt, and this is the NRS Drylander skirt that I was using. And basically the way that works is the skirt goes over top the inside tunnel, and then your jacket goes over top the skirt. Now underneath, I was using this here. This is NRS's Silk Weight long sleeve shirt. And it's just a super lightweight, feels super smooth, silky, and hence why it's called Silk Weight top that, helps keep you cool primarily by keeping the sun off and stopping you from getting burned. And that was the main reason I was using it. But it's also a good underlayer when I put the paddling top on. There was only once where I put another thermal layer over top of this. Usually just putting my paddling top on top of this was more than enough to keep me warm. Now on the bottom, this is all I really used. I used the NRS's Hydroskin 0.5 millimeter pants and shorts, I should say, depending on the day. The thing about the Hydroskin is it's kind of like wetsuit. It insulates when it's wet and dry, so it's designed for keeping you warm. but it's also extremely comfortable. It's much more comfortable than just straight wetsuit. The other reason I use the pants, even though some days it was a little warm for pants, was bug protection. And then I don't like just wearing wetsuit. I put my board shorts over top to hide my butt. The shorts I used when it was too hot to wear pants, but the same idea, and I would wear the board shorts over top. A couple times it got nasty. And when it got nasty, I was using not a dry pant. This is just a straight paddling pant, the Endurance paddling pant. So it's waterproof, but it doesn't have gaskets or anything. It just has a regular simple cuff on the bottom and around the waist. So yeah, if you go swimming, it's not going to keep you dry per se. It's really designed to keep the wind and water off, keep you warm when you need an extra layer. You need a wind, water, or water breaking layer. On the feet, I was using Astral Loyax water shoes. The water in Georgian Bay is never warm, but it wasn't cold either. It was refreshing. I wasn't worried about getting cold feet whatsoever. And when I'm not worried about cold feet, right these days, in the past few years, these shoes have been my go-to. They're just great on rock. Astral has been making stuff forever. They're super flexible, so they fit in the boats when you're in the boat really well. They're comfortable. They got a nice wide toe box. And I've got wide feet, and so that is a problem for me. They dry as quickly as you can expect a water shoe to dry, but more importantly, they drain super quick. So when you're getting into your boat, they got so many drain holes. I mean, they're just designed to drain immediately. So you just lift your foot up and water drains out, and then you can get in your boat and not bring in a couple of pounds of water. On the deck of my boat, I was using the Gear Lab Outdoors Deck Pod Pro. The reason I was using it, I love having some kind of deck bag on the front for water, snacks, anything I need. So again, anything I need easy access to. Cool thing about the Deck Pod Pro is this shell that it has, or this frame it has over top for a GoPro mount. Or you can mount a phone there if you wanted, but I was using an action camera of any type. Great and simple way to film your paddling adventure. It also has a place to hold your bilge pump securely. Straps on super easy to your boat. This has been a staple for any touring trip that I've done for the past couple of years. Of course, map case. And in the map case, I got a wide variety of maps. I'm a map nut. And this was one of those places where I needed a few different maps because no single map covered that whole area very well. I also, of course, brought a compass, which I actually haven't used a compass in a long time, but because navigating was tricky with Georgian Bay has 30,000 islands. And so you can easily lose track of where you are. And this was very helpful because you never want to rely on electronics, your phone. Even though there was decent phone service, I was surprised to discover throughout most of Georgian Bay. Otherwise, for all the other gear that I was taking, I was using these Tough Sack, NRS's Tough Sack dry bags. And I was using everything from 5 liter to, the biggest one I think I used was 25 liter, to 25 liter. The 25 liter bags still fit in most touring kayaks or sea kayaks, but not as well as a 10, 15, 20 liter bag, even a 5 liter bag. Now the 5 liter bags, no, that's a 10 liter bag. No, that's a 5 liter bag right there. Pretty small. You can't fit a ton of stuff in here, but you can tell this was all my breakfast stuff. And each one, this is how I kept track of things. This was my day bag. This was my snacks bag. This was my dinner bag. Just a piece of duct tape with what's in there. Because I think in the end, I must have had about 15 little dry bags, and it just made life so much easier. And that's one of the things you discover on a trip is not only what gear was worth bringing and what gear you wish you did bring, but what kind of a packing system you're going to use. My packing system on every trip evolves over the first few days of the trip. I'd say the first 3 days of the trip, it gets refined. I'm like, you know what, when I'm accessing this piece of gear, I'm also accessing these other pieces of gear. And so that stuff should be together. And then I can put it away sooner. I can put it deeper into the kayak because I know I'm not going to need it at this stage of the day. You'll develop your own system as well as an appreciation for what gear works best for you over time. So this is the gear, the paddling gear that I used on this trip. Now let's take a look at some of the other gear, the camp related gear, just the other gear that was really beneficial on this trip. Okay, so here we go. This is some of the other gear that I took on this trip. This is the other gear that I took that I felt deserved some special mention because it was really nice to have on the trip. And we'll start with the actual camping gear, the sleeping kit. I was using a pretty, well, it's not that big, but this is Big Agnes's Salt Creek 3-person tent. Yes, I took a 3-person tent. The reason I took a 3-person tent is because I knew I was going to have some nasty weather. And I expected to have a down day. There was a big storm system coming in. I expected to have to spend a day locked down in camp, and I wanted a bigger sleeping area. And I was like, you know what, I have space. It's not that much bigger, it's not that much heavier. I like having extra space. And for me too, with camera gear that I'm using on a shoot, it's nice to have more space in the tent to deal with that camera gear. I do not leave it outside of the tent at night or during any kind of weather. The other nice thing about this tent is it has guy lines, and that is something you absolutely need in a place like Georgian Bay. Tent pegs do not work in Georgian Bay because you're on rock. So you need to tie down 2 rocks, and you need rope or guy lines to do that. It has a lot of guy lines, but I had to actually add more guy lines to this thing, which I'll talk about in a minute. Pillow-wise, this is a pillow that I've used many times. I've forgotten the exact name of it. It's Zen Bivvies Deluxe or something pillow. But what I love about it is you got the pillowcase, you have the air bladder that you blow up, and then you have a down pillow insert on top of that. So this ends up going over the air bladder, which you blow up to make the pillow as firm or as soft or as thick as you'd like. You put them both in the sleeping bag and you have a heavenly pillow that packs up super small. And pillows over the years, this has become, I used to use sweatshirts, coats, whatever. It didn't really matter to me. I do not do that anymore. Pillows are a key part of the camping gear. The sleeping pad I was testing out a couple of Sea to Summit products. And the sleeping pad, this was the Etherlite XR insulated pad. This little sucker right here is a 4-inch thick sleeping pad. That's another thing I don't skimp on. Now, in order to get a nice, thick, plush sleeping pad in the past, like quite a few years ago, you had to bring a massive sleeping pad, which just wasn't practical. This little sucker here is a 4-inch plush sleeping pad. And this is also this is big for it. This is the biggest model. It's the long, the large, and the rectangular version because I love having a big sleeping pad. I don't like having any part of my body coming off the sleeping pad. And so it was great. One of the things that I also brought, let's see if it is, which I always bring, this little sucker here. This is the Flex Tail Zero Pump. This little thing, it's the size of my thumb, pumps up the sleeping pad in a minute. And just, you know what? This weighs nothing. It fits in there. It doesn't change the size of anything. And it's just a little luxury that saves me from getting lightheaded every night on the trip. One of the cool things about this sleeping pad is also it has, if you don't bring a zero pump, it has an integrated inflation bag on the other side of the case. So cool system. I slept great. I paired that with Sea to Summit's Ember quilt. I've never used a full quilt before. This is the first quilt, just straight up quilt I've ever used. I've always used sleeping bags. And this thing is, they say it's good to -1 degree Celsius, 30 degree Fahrenheit. I don't think you'd be overly comfortable at that temperature, but it got down got down to like what, 9 degrees Celsius, maybe low 40s, low to mid 40s in Fahrenheit. And I was toasty warm, which I was actually surprised about because it is such a light and small little sleeping bag or quilt. And it fits beautifully over top of any sleeping bag, not just Sea to Summit sleeping bag, or you don't need to fit it. You know, it's just got a great strap system to attach it to your sleeping pad. So great combination. I'd say I would go with this combination down to maybe I'd be comfortable doing that maybe to nights around 5 or 6 degrees Celsius. So high 30s Fahrenheit, low 40s. Now, the other thing I brought was a tarp, and this came in very handy. I didn't use it every night, but I used it a few nights. This is the Eno's Pro Fly Sill XL's, it's extra large, Sill rain tarp. This is designed primarily for Eno's hammock systems, but I love it as a solo tarp system. It's more than just a solo tarp system. Great for 2 people even. Easy to set up, good coverage, strong. It really came in handy when I got socked in by a major storm. So now let's talk about some of the other gear that I brought. Now this bag right here, this is my repair kit. And in the repair kit, I have duct tape. Always bring duct tape. First of all, I thought about, okay, what are the things that can fail? I'm using a thermoformed kayak. What if the thermoformed kayak cracks? Well, duct tape. That's going to be my solution to that. What if the tarp or my tent or its fly rips or something? Well, that's what this Tear-Aid stuff is for. And then it's also great for dry bags. It's great for even paddling gear. Anything that you need to be waterproof. I needed more attachment points to pin the tent down while I was setting it up on rock. And so I brought a whole bunch of rope that I could cut into smaller pieces. Now, I like having this rope also on hand for setting up things like clotheslines, for who knows what, for tying gear down on top of the kayak. It's just great to have. It's a small little thing to bring and great to have. What else do I have in here? Zip ties, some zip ties I always bring along. Now I also brought along a throw rope. And did I even use this thing? I don't think I even used this thing, but I always love having a rope on hand. Actually I did use it one night. I used it one night to tie my kayak to a tree on shore when I was just worried about, hey, it could be stormy. The wind, if it really got nasty, could it blow my kayak away? Well, it may blow it along the rocks, but I'm not going to let it blow away from the island I was staying at. So I just love having rope on hand because you never know. And if you don't have it, you can be really screwed. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll keep talking about safety gear. This is a bear spray canister. There are definitely bears in Georgian Bay. You know, black bear, they're not a huge problem. I don't worry too much about them because I take care of my food. Now, what I mean when a couple of things when I mean taking care of food for bears, and this doesn't apply to everywhere you're paddling. If you're paddling in places where bears are real problems, or you have grizzlies, you're dealing with different places require different measures. What I did for food is, first and foremost, I didn't bring a lot of pungent food. I had a lot of dehydrated, a lot of dried food, a lot of snacks, things that sealed up. And then I would always seal that food in other Ziploc bags. And then I would seal those Ziploc bags in dry bags. And then at night, I would seal those dry bags into my kayak, into the sealed hatch. And it was basically, I was having a sealed bag within a sealed bag within a dry bag within my sealed kayak. Is that bear proof? No, not completely. It's pretty damn good. I mean, the bear is going to have to really be hungry and really want that thing that they can hardly smell in the boat. And they're probably gonna have to be conditioned to food being in boats to have to worry about them getting into the boats. But there's just not enough traffic on Georgian Bay. It's not like one of those provincial parks that you have people at those campsites every day and the bears get conditioned that, hey, this is a food source. They're always hanging food or they're putting food here and they're used to it. That's not the case there. And so that was my approach on this trip. But still, when I'm traveling alone, in bear country, any type of bear country, I always bring a bear spray it's peace of mind. I've never had to use it. A couple of first aid kits combined. These two have not everything I need, but anything I need for minor injuries, nothing catastrophic. Now around camp for water, this is my go-to for water. This is Platypus's, what is it called? The Gravity Works. You scoop up dirty water with the dirty bag, hang it on the tree, connect the hose here, and then connect the clean bag at the down below, somewhere lower, and no pumping, no fuss. Within 5 minutes, you have, in this case, this is a 4-liter thing, but you have liters of fresh water. Super easy. Love this system. Super easy to clean too. You can back flush it. If you're using dirty water and it gets a little junked up and it's not filtering very quick, you just reverse and it just spits out gets rid of all the dirt, and then you're up and running again. Great system. Well, let's stick with safety. Actually, I didn't finish that. The other device I had was Zoleo. This is satellite communicator, runs off satellites. Not only is it a communicator, it has an SOS button, but it also lets me get weather wherever I am. And that is what I use this primarily for, because on this trip, I started taking advantage. Well, I actually had cell service for a good chunk of the time. So I was like, wow, I can actually communicate in this remote area, which was awesome. But what I also recently learned is that my phone provides satellite communication. My iPhone, when I have zero cell service, I can use the satellite network for free to text with whoever I need to. It's a normal texting tool. Now, it won't let me check weather, and that is key. Being able to text isn't good enough. You need to, especially on a trip like this, any multi-day trip, you really need to be able to get an accurate weather report on an ongoing basis, because that will affect your plans, and it can have dramatic repercussions if you don't get the weather right. Moving right along, other gear. There aren't thunderboxes or privies, whatever you want to call them, places to do your business, established places in Georgian Bay. And so you have to dig cat holes. And so bringing along a simple trowel greatly simplifies that, because the last thing in the world you want to do is make a mess and leave nastiness for other groups to find. These aren't high traffic, most of the campsites aren't high traffic areas, but still, I mean, the simple rule in this situation with cat holes is well away from water. You want to dig it a good 6 to 9 inches deep, and make sure you cover it very well away from any creek or anything like that too. And having a trowel just makes that a lot easier. Cooking. This is my cooking kit right here. I just brought some of these Sea to Summit collapsible bowls. That's all I needed right there, those 2 bowls. This is my cutlery set here. Again, very simple. I don't even have my spoon, knife, and my spoon fork combination is in the garage right now. I got a knife here. Actually, it's a combo fillet knife because I catch fish, but also kitchen knife, a little spatula, because I did some cooking over a frying pan. I brought some hand sanitizer just to, instead of soap, to keep the hands clean. I was using the Jetboil system again. I really like this cooking system. I'm a simple cooker. I do more boiling water than anything, but I also, this time, when I was Lake Superior, I didn't have the pot set attachment, which allows you to use other pots or frying pans on top. I now have that, and so I took advantage of that a couple of nights and made some pizzas and chicken fajitas. What was really cool is that, I brought 2 of these canisters for a 5, potentially 6-day trip. This canister here was virtually empty. I was like, okay, you know what, I'll get a day out of it, but I don't want to waste it, and I have the space, so I'll bring that one. It lasted 4 of the 5 days, and that's including cooking on the not just boiling water, cooking on a frying pan, fajitas and pizzas, and so having the burner going for extended period. I can't believe how efficient this Jetboil stove is, and the other high efficiency stoves are these days. Really amazing. I also did bring, I had a backup. Oh, this is a little wash kit here. Who makes this one? Is this Sea to Summit or GSI? I'm not sure, but cool little wash kit. But this is funny right here. As a backup stove, in case that stove got gummed up, whatever, this is my backup stove right here. This is the Grail titanium stove, and I've never used it, meaning actually cooked on it, but look at the size of this thing. Look how small that packs up. But it's it's a full stove. Whoops. You fold it out and you simply screw it on top of one of those bottles right there, and you can cook away. And so how cool is that as a tiny, almost weigh nothing backup? A couple of other pieces of gear that I just quickly wanted to mention that I brought. Well, these are Nock Provisions binoculars, and this is the first time I brought binoculars on a trip, and I have to say that I didn't use them that often. Not every time I used them, I was like, oh, this is great to have, but I didn't use them that often because I'm not used to having binoculars on the trip. I'm pretty sure I'll use them more and more as I get used to having binoculars on a trip. They do add some weight, but these things are waterproof, fog proof. They're heavy duty, durable, so I'm not worried about destroying. I don't have to take really good care of those binoculars. This is a really cool inflatable light for just blow it up, and it's solar powered, and you've got light inside your tent. Can't even see if it's going on right now, but it was great. The reason, a buddy of mine, actually on the previous trip I did, the Des Moines trip, my buddy Kev had one of these things, and what I really liked about it was the fact that when I wanted to read at night, if you have your headlamp on, bugs are just constantly peppering your face. With this thing, you hang it on the top of your tent, and the bugs are attracted, any bugs in your tent are attracted to it and not to your face. It was just nice ambient light too. So, you know what, I will, it's so light and compact, I'll definitely be bringing this on future trips. And the last thing that is worth mentioning are these, I mentioned these shoes in a previous video about gear I was excited to test. These are the Teva's Ultra Comfy, I've forgotten what they're actually called, the name of them, they're the Après Trail for after you're, hiking or after paddling all day. They're designed to be really comfy footwear for around camp. Now I couldn't wear these all the time because some of the camps I was at were really steep and rocky, and these would be sketchy. Even though it's got actually a really grippy sole, it's more the foot sliding around on top that was sketchy. But I did wear these a lot on this trip because it felt really good to put these on after a day of paddling. They're super light, and so again, it was not a big deal to bring these along. I will definitely be bringing these along on future trips. And that's about it. I mean, that's not everything that I brought, but these are all the pieces of gear that really, I was really glad to have with me, and that I will, depending on the trip, bring again with me. That being said, if you want a more comprehensive, if you want me next time to go through every piece of gear that I brought, I'm happy to do that. Let me know. Leave a comment down below if there's some gear that you think I should bring on my next trip. Please do let me know. I am always game to hear about cool new gear and to test cool new gear. And I do have a lot of trips coming up. I've got a trip in fact, in just less than 2 weeks. And then my biggest trip of the season, Puckasaw on Lake Superior, which is coming up in about, well, 5 weeks time. And so lots more videos coming, lots more adventures coming, lots more gear reviews, a lot more gear testing coming. You can catch it all here on the Paddle TV YouTube channel or on my new YouTube channel, Ken Whiting Adventures, which hosts all the main adventure videos. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this, that you found it helpful. If you have, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Paddle TV and to my new channel, Ken Whiting Adventures, if you haven't already. And stay tuned, because I got a ton more paddling tips, gear reviews, and paddling adventures coming your way.